In mindful Pilates, we want to be aware of a three-dimensional breath. So let's begin with expanding the back, breathing down towards the kidneys and the low back. Expanding the low back ribs. And inviting the breath to roll like a wave from the bottom of the back up to the tops of the shoulder blades. Invite your ribs to ripple out with the breath behind you. Even this gentle movement of the ribs away from the spine can give us more mobility in the spine. So as you breathe into the back, expand the back ribs and imagine them moving just slightly away from the vertebrae. And then relaxing back in and expanding away and relaxing back in. Feel for a stretch down from the low back ribs. Remembering that we want this muscle of the diaphragm to be active. We inhale and it balloons down into the low back slightly. We exhale and it mushrooms up under the lungs. Feel for this in the back body. With curiosity and the senses open, feel into the back body as an act of deep listening in the present moment. Breathe into the side bodies and visualize the ribs expanding away from each other, side to side. Breathe yourself broad. And remember that this breath is fundamental to strengthening your core. Now breathe into the side waists. As the lowest side ribs expand, feel them stretching the diaphragm as it descends slightly into the abdomen. Now breathe into this whole back hemisphere from side to back to side. Let the whole back hemisphere expand behind you. You may feel the back ribs, the back side ribs move into the inner arm. Don't strain for too large an inhale. When you're done with the inhale, let it go. But invite the inhale to fill the back hemisphere of the body. And then relax on the exhales. Soften so that the next time you feel, you can expand and stretch a little more. And notice how this relaxing and expanding could increase your lung capacity. Remembering that the air exchange, the gas exchange, is best done in the lower lobes of the lungs. Now breathe into the belly. Expand the belly. Invite the breath like a wave to roll up the belly and the sternum. And now expand the front hemisphere of the body. Let it radiate forward like sun's rays, every direction from the front hemisphere. Feel yourself relax on the exhales. Now breathe into the whole circumference of the torso. Let yourself expand from the spine outward. Relaxing back in towards the spine on the exhales. Now keeping this three-dimensional quality to the breath, root your sit bones and inhale length up the spine. As you exhale, keep the spine strong and long and relax the outer body over it. Inhale up the length of the spine. Exhale, drape the outer body over the spine. Inhale, lengthen space up the spine. Exhale, drape the outer body over the spine. Now, can you maintain this length? Even let the hot air balloon lift you from the center of your palate so that you're long without too much effort, and inhale into the whole circumference of the torso. And exhale, relax the body. Inhale into the whole circumference around this long spine. And exhale, relax. Notice how you can lengthen the spine without working every muscle in the outer body. Feel in right along the spine. What muscles are working to help you lengthen the spine? Feel for them. We want to get to know them because the muscles we know we're conscious of are more easily activated. Now take a long inhale up the spine, and as you exhale, blow out through your straw, pursing the lips. And then soften and inhale. And exhale through your pursed lips, lifting your pelvic floor. Softening for the inhale. As you exhale, lift the pelvic floor. Feel for the corset muscle of the transverse abdominis cinching you in. And lastly, as you blow out through your straw, feel for the multifidi activating along the spine to stabilize you for the exhale. If you can't feel them, imagine them. Feel for them with open curiosity. This is your inner core, the pelvic floor, the multifidi, and the transverse abdominis. We'd like them to turn on before we reach for something in the cupboard, or as we rake leaves or work in the garden. We'd like them to turn on before we twist and reach for something on the table. Visualize yourself in these household activities. These muscles, the pelvic floor, the transverse abdominis, the multifidi, turning on to support you when you need them. Now let go the pursed lip to exhale, and inhale up the length of the spine, and exhale, relax the outer body over the spine. Breathe now through your nostrils. Relax your body over this strong spine. And now gently open your eyes. Can you maintain awareness of breathing up the spine? Maintaining the strength and length as you exhale and relax the outer body. Eyes open, feel still inward, aware of the outer world, still awake to the inner one. Still feeling the spine with eyes open. Let your eyes move to look around the room, keeping your head still. Continue to feel the spine. Now we're going to try something really subtle that I learned from a rolfer this week. Bring your hands to the base of your skull and massage your occiput, that base of the skull, and those suboccipital muscles kind of right up under the skull. You might feel them as a little bit of tightness. You can massage out to the edge of the back of the skull and then back in. Find those tight muscles. Feel them. And now close your eyes and let your hands become still, but still press on these muscles. And move your eyes to the left. Notice if you can feel anything in these suboccipital muscles. Move your eyes back to center and move your eyes to the right. And then move your eyes slowly back to the left. You may not actually feel the muscle moving. Feel into your skull. Notice if you feel any sensation in response to the moving eyes as you gently take them back and forth. Just feel for it inside your head. These suboccipital muscles are like sun rays, connecting the spine to the skull. The fascia of the optical nerve connects in here. Feel for any awareness. And then release. And just pause with your breath, whether you felt it or not. Know that as you move your eyes, your nervous system knows your head and body will probably turn, and your muscles begin to react to the eye movement. It's a beautiful system. Okay, let's come to standing. Let's take this awareness with us as we bring the long TheraBand up over the top of the head. Take your arms wide. This mindful Pilates class is all about building awareness in the body so we can move with more grace and ease. That does take strengthening. Let your feet hug the floor and then root your heels. Gently lengthen up the legs and hug the glutes into the bone. Lift through the pelvic floor and exhale through pursed lips. Lengthen the spine into the TheraBand. Keeping that length, soften the outer body and inhale. Rooting the heels, exhale through pursed lips. Rooting the feet and the tailbone, lift the pelvic floor, lengthening the spine. Soften even the glutes and inhale. Fill the torso three-dimensionally. Exhale, press a little taller up into the TheraBand. This hopefully will also stretch your suboccipitals. Remember, you're lifting from behind the ears. Now, can you maintain this sense of length and awareness and gently come to one toe and release the toe? The spine isn't stiff, it's just long. Come to the other toe and release, perhaps lift one knee and release. Long spine, other knee and release. Shoulder blades, excuse me, on the back body, lifting and releasing. Feel your feet ground. Lengthen from the pelvis down as you lift through the pelvic floor up. It's that motion in opposition to each other that can help us find that length. Really reach into the TheraBand, press into the foot as you lift to the toe or you lift the knee. Beautiful. Now take your left foot out to the side. Keep lifting through the pelvic floor into the TheraBand and see, can you lift the left foot off and lower? Keep that length, lifting off and lowering. Root the four corners of your standing foot and lift and lower. Take it to standing on your left foot. Long into the TheraBand. Notice how that may help you with balance as you lift the right foot and lower, as you lengthen the side bodies. And one more. And then step in and release the TheraBand. Take it now around your low back ribs. Make sure it's open like a cummerbund so that it's not all tangled up in a little kind of ropey thing. Let it be wide. And then inhale, bend your knees a little, palms up. Take the hands forward and breathe deep into those low back ribs. And exhale the elbows back in. And inhale into the low back ribs. And exhale the elbows in. Now, can you broaden across the collarbones and open the hands a little wider? Can you lift the lowest rib ring that the TheraBand is wrapping around? Lift it away from the pelvis as you breathe into it. Lengthening the lumbar spine. Breathe space between the vertebrae. Rooting the heels. Let the heart center lift. So we're not leaning forward. We breathe deep into the back body as the hands pull the TheraBand tight against the low back ribs so that we can feel the breath. Now inhale and come to one toe. And exhale. Can you keep this low back, the waistline long? Come to the other toe. And release. Maybe you lift the knee. And release. Tailbone roots as the third leg of the stool to help you balance. Fluid breath, slow movement. Feel into the awareness. And release. Bring the TheraBand to the front of the body, palms up, and place your elbows in your golf tees. Right beneath your elbows, broaden across your collarbones. And holding the TheraBand, remember it doesn't need to be too tight. You don't want to strain it so the head of the arm bone pops forward. You want to keep that head of the arm bone back, not here. And then we open the arms out wide, broadening across the collarbones. Take the arms wide. Don't flare the ribs to do it. Root the tailbone. Can you keep a lift to the heart as you strengthen? Fluid breath. And right here, lift to one toe. And lower. Lift to the other toe. And lower. Maybe you lift the knee. And lower. Can you stay strong? Shoulder blades on the back. And lower. Stay with your breath. Still breathing into the low back ribs. Beautiful. And release. Last one, take the TheraBand up overhead and open it wide and relax it. And open and relax and come to one toe and release the other toe and release. Lift a knee and release. Lift a knee and release. A few more. So we're really working muscles around the outer shoulder blade. You may feel that. It may be a light work, that's okay. But we're telling the upper trap, look, other muscles can work. You don't have to. So we want to do a little of that. And then release. Let's pick up our hand weights. Let's pick up our hand weights and step our legs wide, turning them out slightly. Bring your arms up into your goal post or cactus position. You can stay with the legs straight or you can bend your knees right out over the ankles. And then exhale, bring your pinkies around. And inhale, open. Feel your shoulder blade move around the rib cage. Keep going. Really feel for that movement of the shoulder blade. And then open up and press the arms skyward. And open the elbows wide. Relax the top of your shoulders and even bobble your head. Release the neck. And then reach the arms and bring them down. Reach the arms. We're building some strength in the quads and bring them down. And reach and down. And reach and down. Reach and down. Pinkies together and open. Pinkies together and open, together and open and reach and down and reach and down, pinkies together and open, pinkies together and open and reach and down, pinkies together and open and reach and down, pinkies together and open and pause. Feel your feet on the floor and see, can you press into the balls of the feet and lift your heels and lower. Lift your heels, lower, lift and lower, lift and lower. And straighten your legs and stretch up and release your arms. And roll one shoulder and then the other shoulder. And just let your myofascia release a little bit here. And then stand nice and tall. Root the tailbone behind you and let the hands draw small circles in front of you. Don't hyperextend the knees. Find that length up the spine as the arms circle up. Circle them up slowly to the top. Lift the low back rib ring and circle them back down. Can you keep that long spine? Feel how the core has to activate in order for you to do this with your arms. One more time. Circle up, keeping length in the back of the spine, the sides of the spine, the front of the spine, and circle back down. Good. And march. Gentle march with the arms, and then let the opposite knee of the swinging forward hand come up. Now, even here as you walk, can you imagine that long spine, hot air balloon lifting you from the palate? Let the spine move, but keep it spacious. marching along. Beautiful. Now, stop the marching and step out to the left, come to center. Step out to the right and center. Left and center, right and center. Lift the left arm and center. Lift right and center. Left and center. Right and center. Now lift the right arm forward, left arm out and center. Out and center, lift and center. Now notice if you lean way over with your spine and your body has to grip in reaction. What would happen if you kept the spine a little taller and you let the hip and the leg go out, but you kept the spine more centered over your pelvis? Yes, beautiful. Long spine. We're conscious of where it is in space. And we may bring it back to balance the outreaching arm. Does that make sense? We keep the arms integrated towards the spine towards the pelvis and the rooting legs. And that helps us with our balance. And then come in and march. So warming up the body a little bit after that slow, mindful start. Keep breathing length into the spine. And pause. Take your left toes out and inhale. Snow angel the arms, lift the leg if you like, and touch down. And lift and touch and inhale and exhale. 2 more. Reach and release. Even as the arms come down, can you lengthen the spine up from the standing foot? And other side. We inhale and exhale and reach and release and lift, lower, press into the standing foot to lengthen the spine. Oh, lift and lower. Last one and release. Pause in your mountain pose. Come back to your fluid breath, breathing into the whole circumference of your lowest ribs. Come back to expanding into the back body, the low side waist and belly. Breathe the whole circumference of the rib cage open. Root into your heels, root your tailbone, lift the pelvic floor, and float your arms out to a T. Lift from under the armpits. Try to relax the upper trap. Let your head bobble. Pause here. Knees aren't locked. Rooting the feet, lengthening up, resting the head back. Feel into your own strength. And then very slowly turn your palms forward. Feel the change in the shoulder blade. Turn your palms down. Feel what happens in the arms and shoulders. Stay strong in the torso, long in the spine as you just slightly revolve the hand. Mindful of the movement. And release and roll the shoulders. Take the left ear gently and slightly towards the left shoulder. If you have osteoporosis, focus more on length than the bend. Don't press vertebrae into vertebrae with osteoporosis. Lift the right hand, turn the palm up, and take it slightly back. Just trying to stretch into that upper shoulder. You can stay here or very gently turn your gaze towards the floor. It can just be the eyes or the head can turn slightly. Come back to neutral and turn that gaze skyward. Eyes skyward. Come back to neutral and release. Take the right ear towards the right shoulder. Remember, length in the neck on both sides. Lift the left arm, palm up, thumb back. You can breathe in here and stay here, or very gently turn to look towards the earth. Very gently turn to look towards the sky. Take care of your own neck. And come back to center and roll your shoulders. Okay, let's come to the floor. Please have your ball blocker oov and your long TheraBand. On the floor, let yourself rest into constructive rest, and then nod tailbone towards earth and tailbone towards sky. Over accentuate your lumbar curve and then gently flatten it. Nodding tailbone towards earth and tailbone towards sky. Just feel into the body. And then pause that and come into your somatic walking, just to get a baseline for how your hips and your lumbar spine and your pelvis feel. And then let's open the hips a little bit today before we start our core work. Let's come to neutral and lift your right ankle up over your left femur. Some of you will just bring a block in under your left foot in your figure 4 here. Some of you will reach around the femur bone and hug the legs towards your chest. Some of you will reach around the shin. Do what position you can rest into and invite the tissue to stretch open. Don't let the tissue grip back. If you do, it's counterproductive. You're not getting anywhere. So inhale deep into the hips and exhale, relax the body. One way to help the hips relax is to relax the face, the jaw, the base of the skull, the neck. And then gently rock the pelvis and the legs back and forth, not the whole body, until you find like, oh yeah, right there is where I want to pause in my stretch. And then take a really deep, this time big inhale. And then soften and relax the whole body on the exhale. Keep the right foot gently flexed to keep the knee in good alignment. Let the rest of the body rest on the exhales. Particularly rest the places you harbor tension in your body. Particularly try to rest open the area you're stretching. And then exhale, release your right foot to the floor and then your left. And we'll switch sides. Bringing the left ankle over the right femur, let the left knee open. Pause here. Feel into your sacrum, your hips. And then as you're ready, draw the legs towards the chest, keeping the left ankle gently flexed to support the left knee. Rock gently back and forth. And notice if one side is tighter. If it is, I really invite you to come back to the stretch after class on the side that's tighter. I have a much tighter side. My left hip is much tighter. And breathe into it. Don't overdo the stretch. Don't pull in so close that you can't relax the tissue on the exhale. 3-dimensional inhale, expanding the whole torso. Relaxing on the exhale. 3-dimensional inhales. Relaxed exhales. And then release. The right foot back down and then the left off to protect the left knee. And press your pillow out from under your head. And place your humerus bones next to the body, palms facing each other across the body. And press down into the arms as you lift the pelvis up. And then lower the pelvis on the exhale and lift the pelvis on the inhale. Let your pelvis be a kite riding the waves of your breath. Inhale the lift and exhale the release. Broad across your shoulder girdle. Humerus bones pressing back to wake up the back body. Feet pressing down. Feel into the arches of your feet. Honor the arches. Floating the pelvis up and down, broad across the shoulder girdle. Inhale and lift and hold. Hug your sit bones towards one another. Lengthen the spine. Press back into the humerus bones, strengthening the back body. Gently lift the heart a little. Make sure that doesn't strain your neck. If it does, don't do it. Fluid, three-dimensional breath, still holding the sit bones hugging towards each other. Glutes really turned on. Now relax the glutes and roll down one vertebrae at a time. Relax the shoulders. If you can't roll down, just lower the sacrum to the floor. We'll meet in constructive rest and go back to somatic walking. One hip lifts and then the other. Really rest the shoulder girdle broad. Relax the jaw and the eyes. Relax the body. And then reach for your ball blocker oof. Bring it underneath your pelvis. Long spine. Arms open, palms up. Float one leg into tabletop. Float it back down, then light as a feather. Float the other leg up. As you float it back down, pay attention to the opposite ribs. Float the next leg up. As you float it back down, ground the opposite side ribs. Float the next leg up. As you float it down, ground the opposite side ribs. Now float the first leg up. Activate your core, pelvic floor, multifidi, transverse abdominis, and float the other leg up. Exhale, toe dip one foot, and exhale it up. Remember, don't touch the floor. Exhale. You do not get a gold star for touching the floor. You get a gold star for not touching the floor. Exhale the leg up. Inhale down, broad across the shoulder girdle. Feel into what muscles are working. And notice if you can draw in around your core, stronger in the front low spine, right around the navel and a little lower. Make sure that you're supporting that spine as you lower and lift the legs. You need that support in the front abdomen. If you've had abdominal surgeries, this might be harder to find, but we can reunite with that sensation. Come back up and open your right leg overhead, left leg long, and pulse, pulse, and switch, pulse, pulse, and switch, pulse, 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 pulse. Remember, it's just a little 2-inch pulse. The front knee can bend if your hamstrings are tight. Pulse, 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 pulse. Bring your heels together, feet in a little Pilates V. Hug the legs together and then open them apart from each other, down the mat, heels together, back up the midline. Feel for the back of your inner thighs helping to lift the legs. Feel for your adductors hugging the inner thighs together. Feel for and activate the outer buttock to help. One more. Now, go down the midline and then pause. Really activate the pelvic floor, the front of the spine. Open the legs and draw back up. Make sure you're active to support that pelvis connection into the lumbar spine. And another, and last one. And bend your knees and float one foot to the floor and then the other. Lengthen one leg out on the mat. Take the arms overhead. Come back to your three-dimensional breath. Relaxing open on the exhales. So all that work we just did strengthens the psoas pathway. But we also need to lengthen the psoas pathway. Breathe deep into the body. Exhale, relax into the stretch. Really try to relax the pelvis open. Pelvis to femur, to inner trochanter, pelvis to lumbar spine. Step this side in and stretch the other out. Take a deep breath. On the exhale, relax the body open. Feel into your inner thighs connection through the pelvis to the spine. Perhaps lengthen both legs out over your prop. Fluid three-dimensional breath. Out of curiosity, exhale through your straw and notice what activates in your abdomen, along your spine. Do this a few times. My focus today is for us to develop inner core awareness. Step your legs back in, come up off your prop and lower down. Hug one knee into your chest and then the other, and circle the femurs wide apart and back together again. And then take your circles the other way. And hug your right knee in, lengthening the left leg out at your 45-degree angle. Nod your nose towards your mouth, almost lift from your hairline. Connect these front neck flexors down to that front core work you've been doing. And switch, and switch, and switch. Lift the pelvic floor. Try to connect the work of the neck flexors along the spine to the pelvic floor. Maybe the head does lift up. Still connect down from the neck flexors through the core to the pelvic floor. Feel for it. And then hug both knees in. Take hands and feet away from each other and pause, rooting the low back ribs back. Circle and hug the knees in. Keep the heels together as you stretch out. Pause. Low back ribs grounding. Circle and hug. Reach and pause. Circle and hug. Reach and pause. You still have a lumbar curve. Circle and hug. Reach and pause. Circle and hug. Lift right leg overhead, left leg long. Reach up the leg and hug it towards you. Pulse, 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 pulse. Maybe you lift your head towards your shin. Pulse, 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 pulse. Contraindicated to lift way up like this if you have osteoporosis. Pulse, 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 pulse. Come legs together. Rest your head back, arms wide, and bend your knees. Toe dip, one foot towards the floor, exhale it up. Other foot towards the floor, exhale it up. Broad across the shoulder girdle. Rest the humerus bones back. Feel into your awareness of your long spine and support it as the legs move. How do you do that? Feel in. If you'd like to take it farther, toe dip both toes, broad across the shoulder girdle. You don't have to dip as far. Keep grounding the low back ribs. Don't flare the ribs skyward. And then hands behind the head. Exhale, lift your right elbow, lengthen the right leg, and release back. Lift the left elbow, lengthen the left leg, and switch and switch. Can you keep length to your spine? Even as you reach the elbows skyward and warm up the obliques, can you not hitch the hip of the bending knee leg up towards the armpit? Stay long in the side bodies. Good morning, obliques. I'm glad you're there so I can side bend and twist and come back to center. And release one leg towards the floor and then the other. And arms to your sides, head off your pillow. Inhale your bridge. Pause in your bridge and let the left hip lower as you lift the right hip, and then switch. Lift the left hip and switch and switch, switch and switch. Feel into what's working. Activate your glute to lift that hip. We want those glutes on board. Use it to lift the pelvis. Lift and lift, lift and lift, lift and lift. Come to center. Reach the pubic bone slightly higher. And then exhale, release the pelvis to the floor. Nod tailbone towards earth and tailbone towards sky. Nice, mindful work, everyone. Let's roll over and come up onto our bolster. Okay, so I didn't tell you to get your bolster, so now you need to. If you don't have a bolster, use double blankets and have your block for your forehead. And let's do a little supported plank work. Okay, so we'll put our forehead on the block, our lowest ribs on the front of the bolster, forearms under us, elbows under shoulders, and rest. Now reach your tailbone towards your heels and press gently into your forearms and feet, and imagine those helium balloons under your pelvis, your navel, your low back ribs, and as you're ready, lift off the bolster. Breathe into your own strength. Long spine, tailbone towards heels, top of head out into the room. Shoulders away from ears. And release. You can stay with those planks if you don't back bend, or you can take your hands wide, root your fingers, reach your tailbone for your heels, and lift the heart slightly in a low cobra. Reach the tailbone long for the heels, and find your front core inside the pelvis and along the front spine. You really woke it up earlier. Use it here to lift up under your spine to support it. I really want you to find that front core. Tailbone towards heels. And then bring your arms back in, toes curl under. Lift again towards your low plank. Remember, you don't have to get off the bolster, but you can. Make sure you're doing what your body can sustain. Tailbone towards heels, base of skull away. Can you breathe yourself broad? And then release back down. If you can go into the back bend, spread into the Y one more time. Rooting the pubic bone, lift the heart. Some of you will be able to lift the feet off the floor. Some of you broaden the shoulders and lift the hands. Still, use that front abdominal core to support the front of the spine, wherever you are. And then exhale, hands underneath shoulders. Those of you who can roll into a high cobra, roll up or come into the baby cobra again. Really lift the energy up from the pubic bone inside the pelvis along the front of the spine. Shoulder blades on the back. And then lengthen the spine as you roll back down. Hands beside the hips, palms down, thumbs out. Inhale, lift your heels. Broad across the shoulder girdle, lift the hyoid bone up and into the body. And lengthen. Again, front abdominal core supporting the spine. The reach of the tailbone also helping you to lengthen the low back. Shoulder blades on the back body, we're strengthening the back. Fluid breath. You can stay here or bring your arms out like wings and float the arms down and float them up. Remember, don't float the wrists so high that the head of the arm bone pops forward. Float the hands down and float up. You can stay here, or you can bring your arms beside your ears and release one hand and the opposite foot towards the floor and switch. In Pilates, this is called swimming. We have a very mixed level group here, so stay with whatever is best in your body. And then release your hands back, forearms on the floor, feet to the floor, and roll across one eyebrow, through the third eye, across the other eyebrow. And just let your forehead get massaged back and forth. And then come up onto hands and knees. Okay, since we're focused on this inner core, let's do our multifidi work today. Bring your block in under your left shin. And float your right shin beside your left. Okay, can you see what I'm doing, Anne? Yeah, okay. So I'm on hands and knees, and I lower the right shin towards the floor, and I lift my pelvis back up to neutral, and then I lower. I'll turn sideways or at a diagonal so you can see me better. We lower and we lift. It's very subtle. Keep your front abdominals awake, but not gripped. As you lower and lift the leg, you're inviting the multifidi to stabilize this moving pelvis, to stabilize the spine for the movement in the pelvis. And it's subtle. We lower and lift and lower and lift. Now lift back up and take the knee back behind you, the foot up towards the sky, and press 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lengthen the leg out behind you and take the right fingertips forward. You may pause there. That may be enough balance work. Some of you can lift the right hand. Fluid breath and release. Step the right shin up onto the block. Okay, we're waking up the multifidi. Float the left shin beside the right and lower and lift, lower and lift. The shin doesn't even need to make it to the floor. It just lowers a little bit, lifts back up. Some of this subtle work is really important for us to keep a healthy spine. Lower and lift, lower and lift. Pause with your pelvis in neutral and take the knee back, the foot skyward, and press 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lengthen out the leg. Take the opposite fingertips forward. You may stay there or you may lift the arm and balance. And release. Come off your block and gentle inhale into cow. Exhale the movement into hissing cat. Pause in your hissing cat and inhale. And then slowly take your sit bones back, stretching out the lumbar spine. Come back to neutral. And let's wake up our myofascial slings a little bit. We haven't done this in a while. So reach for your long TheraBand. Take your long TheraBand. I'm going to put mine on the floor so you can see it better. Take your long TheraBand wide and place your hands on it, hands and knees. Hold the right TheraBand in your hand. You can kind of bunch it up if you want to. And then let your palm face down, wrist unbroken, and then lift. Find that right shoulder blade coming onto the back ribs. Ground across your pelvis into both legs. Ground the left arm broad across the shoulder girdle. And feel from your left hip pointer across to your right armpit. And lower the hand and lift it straight back up. And lower and lift. Draw it up with the muscles under the shoulder blade. And one more and hold. Feel for your abdominal work across the torso and release. You can also feel for the sling on the back body. Place your right hand on the TheraBand. Hold the left hand. You can kind of bunch the TheraBand up in your palm so that you can face the fingers out away from the body. Palm down. And then lower and lift. Lift first with the head of the arm bone. Find the shoulder blade on the back body and pause. Broad across the shoulder girdle. Broad across the pelvis. Grounded in the knees. Lower the hand and lift. Use the shoulder blade. Lower and lift. Lower and lift. Lower, lift and hold. Long spine. Fluid breath. And release. Inhale into your cow pose and pause. Draw in your pelvic floor. Find support underneath the spine up towards the spine. And then exhale. Use that support to lift the spine into your hissing cat. And roll back, child's pose. Deep three-dimensional breaths. You can stay in the middle or walk your hands to the right and breathe deep into the left side body. Fluid breath. Relaxing the tissue open on the exhales. And then walk the hands around to the other side. Deep inhale. Full exhale. Fluid breath. And then come back to center. Roll your toes under and float up to downward dog. Lengthen your legs. Long spine. Make sure your head isn't dropping through your arms like a heavy fruit. Keep your neck long, your shoulder girdle supportive. Breathe into the whole circumference of your rib cage. Exhale, lengthen the spine. Inhale, breath between the vertebrae. And see if you can feel into that front core along the spine. Feel into the sides of your spine, the back of your spine. And step your feet forward. Bend your knees. Standing child's pose and unhinge. Reach for the sky and stretch the left arm up, root the left foot, right arm up, root the right foot, and just stretch, open your myofascia. Reach both arms skyward as you root the feet, stretch the fingers, and exhale, hands through the heart. Inhale three-dimensionally. Draw energy into the body and exhale down the center channel, relaxing. Take a few more of these breaths at your own pace. Inhaling and exhaling. Inviting the breath into the three-dimensional torso. And then grounding into the four corners of your feet. Inhale into a wonderful Wednesday for all of you. Thank you for coming to class.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome. Enjoy your day, Sharon.
You too.